Let's have some fun now and use some mica and glitter with our hot wax. Remember, we're using the yellow wax that we made up. And let's show you the effects that the colors have with each other. So first you just take any mica that you like. It doesn't have to be this pink, or it doesn't have to be in a bag at all. And I'm just going to sprinkle it into the bottom of my container like this, just tapping on the side of this little spoon with my finger to just try to evenly distribute the mica powder into the bottom of the container without making huge clumps, because it's pretty easy to make a big mess with this, as in dumping a bunch of it into one spot. Doesn't really, it would just not adhere to the wax at all. If you had, like, if I took the rest of this and I just dumped it in one spot, it wouldn't be the wax. There would be too much mica for the wax, and it just wouldn't really work. Now I'm going to pour my wax into the containers. I'm going to begin by pouring along the side of the container, because if I poured straight in the middle, it would actually push the mica out to the sides and I would have this strange line. So I'm going to try to pour in the corner, and you can either tip the container like this or just pour along the edge, being careful not to get it onto the edge of the container. Just watch how I pour it along the edge, because I'm trying not to disrupt the placement of the mica in the container. And as I pour it, you can see how it's kind of moving away from the one side. So I'm getting near filling my container up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour a line of wax straight up the middle. And what this will do is you'll watch the mica, it will go off onto the sides. Let me just zoom in here. Watch the mica as it disperses out as I do this line straight through the middle. Do you see that? And how it kind of moved around a bit, so it looks more uniform. And I'm just checking the level of my container, how full I have it, and I'm just going to add a little bit more just in the corner here. There, because I don't want to disrupt the mica placement again. And what I had just done there is I had wiped I had a paper towel and I had wiped the rim of my jug just to keep it from pooling down the side. I'm going to do the same thing with this next one now, pouring along the side. You'll zoom in. You can watch that again. I'm pouring along the side, trying not to make too much disruption of the mica, filling up each cavity of the container. And then I'm going to do one. Do you see how it's moved all the mica to this side of the melt? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my center pour again, and it will distribute the mica to the sides. Sometimes you have to do it with a little bit more, you have to put more wax out of your pot at once so that it has more pressure to move the mica. And here is the pot. I'll show you there how it's dripping down, and I just take my paper towel and I wipe up the side just to keep everything clean and neat and tidy. And doing so, I have snagged the side of my paper towel. This is only because I'm filming, and that's okay, because this gives me, I have sprayed out the wax onto the sides of the containers, And that's okay. What I see this as an opportunity to show you how to clean up the sides of the containers if you ever have mishaps like this with your own wax melt making. So yes, sometimes things get messy regardless of your best attempts at keeping things clean. Let's do one last pour here. All the mica you can see has distributed, so I'm going over here, doing a stronger pour. Oops, I got a little bit too enthusiastic right there. Now, let's say that you would like to add some mica to the tops of these because you're displeased with how the mica has only gone to one side, which really isn't that big of a deal, but if it's really something, this is just another effect, or if that's bothering you, this is what you can do. Okay, again, taking your mica, it doesn't matter if it's in a shaker bottle or if you get these little spoons to use or just a normal spoon, just use your finger to tap on the side of the spoon or shake gently with your shaker and add the mica to the top. Now it will kind of sink a little bit, but what you don't want is big clumps. Do you see right here? Let's zoom in. How we're getting kind of a bubble right there? You don't want large amounts of mica on top because it will literally be a bubble of mica and not adhere to the wax at all. And what you'll actually get is, if the customer touched that, it would just get mica everywhere. So we don't want to deal with that. So there is mica in a nutshell for you, and you can use different colors and different colors of wax and different micas, and you can mix it all up and do whatever you like and really get creative with this. As these are cooling, you can see that the mica that we put on top of them has kind of dispersed into the wax and melted, except for this one. So what you can do when they're not quite hard yet, do you see how they're not really, they're kind of still damp and warm. I'm going to take some more mica, and while it's still not quite cooled yet, and I'm going to sprinkle it on top. And now that the wax is hardened, or it's cooled down more, it's not completely melted, it should stay on the top. So if you're having that problem with your mica where the mica you put on top kind of melted into it, or I should say sunk into it, you can just add a bit more onto the top to get the effect that you were looking for. Now we can look at the effects of having mica on the top and underneath. So this is what it will look like. Pretty nice. It is shiny, and as the mica melts, it creates an iridescent look in the wax melt pot.